Thank you, everyone, for joining us today in another episode of the Teens4Wellness podcast. I'm your host, Ethan, and joining me as my co-host today, Skylar. How are you?
I'm good, Ethan. I'm happy to be back. Today's podcast is sponsored by Stand for Kind. Take a stand against bullying in your school and help spread kindness and positivity by visiting www.standforkind.com.
Join the Stand for Kind community hosted by Geneva. All it takes is one click, and you can connect with and make new friends, video chat, and join conversations about the casual trending topics, mental health, anti-bullying, and more. Join the community at www.standforkind.com.
Opening in theaters across the country on September 24th is the film Dear Evan Hansen. Based off the Tony Award-winning Broadway musical written by Stephen Levinson, the film follows Evan Hansen, a high school senior that struggles with a severe social anxiety disorder, whose letter to himself ends up in the hands of a fellow classmate. After the classmate takes his life, Evan is sent on a journey of self-discovery that gives him the chance to finally be accepted among his peers.
Even when the dark comes crashing through,
Connor showed me that I wasn't alone. Nobody is.
when you need a friend to carry you,
Were you ever actually friends with
when
him?
you're broken all,
I thought you said you didn't know him.
I have to tell them.
you will be found.
Ethan, how have you dealt with the need to be accepted by your peers?
When it comes to the need to, I don't really have that need. I definitely say it's certainly a want to be accepted by my peers, but if I don't really know my peers very well, then in that case, acceptance from them is something that I don't value too much until I get to know them more, to the point I respect them and to the point they respect me, and it's a back and forth. And that's when I care about being accepted. It's being accepted by someone who I've let be close to me.
Absolutely. That's a really healthy way to look at it. Because, I feel like I struggled a lot in high school with needing the acceptance from my peers. I don't know, why that, I don't know why that is. You know what I mean?
It's natural. Yeah.
It's natural. I just wanted to be accepted. And I think I ended up my whole high school career just being not myself in front of people and my friends. And I think that was more hurtful, just not being authentically yourself with people who you don't even know.
Joining us today is one of the stars of the film. He plays Jared Kalwani. You can also see him starring as Zahid on the Netflix comedy drama Atypical. Please welcome Nik Dodani.
Thank you so much for having me. How you guys doing?
We're great. We're so happy
great.
to have you here.
Personally, I'm starstruck, but I'm otherwise fine.
Well, Nick, a new segment to our podcast is Quick Questions. It's a way for us to break the ice a bit before we get into the actual interview. What's your favorite personal possession and why?
Oh, my favorite personal possession and why? That is a really great question. Is it super cheesy if I say I don't have one? I feel like
A little. No, I'm just kidding.
no. I mean that's a really good question. I don't think I have a quick answer to that.
I couldn't answer that very quickly.
I'm really not doing the whole quick thing well. Let's go to the next one.
Okay.
All right. If you had 25 hours in a day, what would you do with the extra hour?
Sleep an extra hour.
All right. So far, that's been a common answer. That's
Yeah.
perfect.
All right. What aspect of your personality adds the most value to the world?
Oh, what a sweet question to make one think positively about oneself. I would say my sense of humor.
Yeah, would you? I know this is more off topic. It's off of a character that we're not focusing on today, but it's one I'm a huge fan of. Would you say the humor that comes from Zahid is almost natural, or would you say that was just because you're such an amazing actor?
I think the humor from Zahid, a lot of the credit goes to the writers of the show, of course, but like with every role I do, I try to bring as much of myself to it as possible, and try and bring my specific sense of humor and see if it works. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. But
I've definitely had experiences that I can relate. So how did you prepare for the role of Jared?
The first thing I did was, as soon as I got the job, I found the bootleg of the Broadway performance starring Ben Platt because I just had to see it. Normally, don't condone of illegal bootlegs, but I'm so happy it existed because I didn't have the chance to see it on stage when it was on stage, and so I really wanted to make sure that I knew what I was getting into and seeing the incredible performance that Ben delivered.
Um, what about your favorite scene? Do you have a favorite scene that you filmed?
I think everything in Sincerely Me was just so fun to film. It was the one sequence of joy, really, in the film. And we got to be on go-karts, we got to dance. The go-karting was definitely my favorite. We had a whole afternoon that we just got to rehearse and learn how to drive and do it properly. And we just raced a bunch with Ben and Colton, and I kicked their asses, and it was great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That sounds so fun.
Yeah, I remember the first time I was on go-karts. It was so embarrassing. I was like, I don't know what to do, and they're like, go left, and I'm like, I don't know how.
What did you learn about yourself, not only from playing the role of Jared, but also being a part of the project with such a pertinent social message?
A lot like Jared, I use humor as a defense mechanism, and especially when I was in high school, I was kind of the sarcastic guy who was hiding behind the jokes. And I think a message that I learned again doing this film was that you don't need to do that. It's okay to just feel your emotions, right? It's okay to just be not okay if you're not okay, and you don't always need to have some kind of quippy response to make sense of a situation. You can just feel.
Right. Wow, I love that.
Although it does make for a good comedy show.
It does make for good comedy.
That's one of the things I loved about Chandler's character on Friends.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I love it. Yeah, totally. 100%.
The big anthem song of the film, "You Will Be Found." What would you say that message means to you?
This sounds cheesy, but it's that you are not alone. Like, we all struggle with depression and anxiety and insecurity and fear. Um, I don't know a single person. I don't know a single person in my life who hasn't or isn't currently struggling with that. And so the song is about, myself included, and the song is about the connections we have to other people, and that we are not alone.
I like it.
It's one of my favorite songs. I remember, I feel like after that musical came out, all of the high schools were like having their choirs perform that song.
Yeah.
I remember having to perform that song, but I think the message meant so much to those high schoolers. Like there was just those deeper meanings. So I feel like I don't know, people brought their souls into that song more than anything else because it's just a really relatable song, like you said. The film deals a lot with the issues of social media. It's no breaking news that social media can affect a teen's mental health, causing anxiety and lower self-esteem. What have you learned about social media from this film, and what advice would you have for teens about the effects of social media?
Doing this movie, watching it, really just reaffirmed what a lot of us already know. Social media can be really corrosive. And yes, there's a good side of it too, in that it can connect us in ways that we can't otherwise. But the piece of advice I would give, which is something I did years ago, was delete most of my social media. I got off Twitter, got off Facebook, and really try to limit my use of Instagram. One thing I do whenever I'm feeling a little overwhelmed, I just delete the app off my phone for a few days, just so the temptation is not even there. You know, it's kind of like an addiction. First step is to get the drugs out of the house, and take it from there. But
Absolutely.
Twitter especially, just delete your Twitter. Like it's not cute.
Right. Twitter's just full of just people's opinions all over the place, and it can be really, really toxic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel like Twitter's dying out.
I think so. I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right.
We're trying to make a conscious effort to talk more about suicide in our communities. So, Dear Evan Hansen addresses suicide head on. What have you learned about suicide from being a part of this film?
Don't ever make assumptions about the people around you. There are a lot of folks who are struggling, um, whether you see it or not, whether it fits our preconceived notions of what that looks like or not. And just be kind as much as you can. You never know how one small action can affect somebody, whether that's a positive or negative thing. Um, we got to look out for each other.
That's that's a good mentality. I agree. That's how it should be. Have you had personal experiences like with? Have you had people that you knew that were going through such things?
Absolutely, yeah. I've had many friends and family throughout the years who have struggled with suicidal thoughts and ideations, um, and it's never easy, and it's hard to know what to do when someone confides in you that they're feeling that way. And I don't know if I really have an answer to how to be in that situation, but just show love and support and be there for them. Help them get connected to a therapist if you can. Uh, just make sure they know that they're going to be okay, that it gets better, and that they're not alone.
I like it.
Absolutely. I think love and connection, those two things are so important for anybody in your life. Even if you don't know what they're going through, just love and connection, those two things can save somebody.
Absolutely.
We've touched on it a bit, but what do you hope audiences take away from the film?
I hope folks walk away just feeling more comfortable talking about depression, anxiety, suicide. You got to be more candid about it. One of my favorite moments in the film is when Alana asks Evan what he's taking, and they have just a really blunt conversation about which medications they're on. And that really it struck me because I feel like I so rarely have that conversation with people that's just so honest and blunt. And I hope people walk away feeling a little more comfortable talking about that kind of stuff with their family and their friends.
It's an amazing feeling whether you see it on a film or you see it in front of you, and it's an even better feeling when you when you can actually let those guards down to talk to someone else about that. It can be hard to let those guards down because it's almost like you're sacrificing so much. Because if I know I've definitely been blunt about some of those things with someone that I was kind of iffy with, but I knew I was close to them. And then when he was like, "Dude, that's weird," when he came back at me like that, I was like, "Oh, that hurt so much because I let those guards down." And so when he came in with that punch, it hurt. It went deep, but
Sorry, man.
it's all good. It's I know it's nothing to be taken personally because I know that there are other people who supported me more who said, "Oh, that's totally normal," you know.
Right, and you gotta just find those safe people, you know what I mean? Those people you know who won't judge you, who love you for you. Absolutely.
Exactly.
I will say that's like the one side of social media that is great is that if you can't find those people in your real life, there's always someone in your community online that you can connect with, which I think is beautiful.
Is there anything you want to add in promotion of the film that we haven't yet mentioned already?
I mean, I just want to say thank you to both of you and everyone at the podcast for having these conversations. I think when I was a teen, I wish I had stuff like this to listen to and had other folks to connect with. I think it's just so dope that young people today have the language and skills to talk about mental health in a way that's so like down to earth and real and not really full of bullshit. And so it's just I'm just very impressed.
It's the people around you, I feel like, that allows that. I've been really thankful to grow up with really supporting parents that will let you talk freely and will be understanding about it, and it lets you get comfortable, and it helps you grow. It really does.
That's great.
We'd like to thank the very talented Nik Dodani for sharing with us his experience of playing the role of Jared Kalwani in the film adaptation of Dear Evan Hansen. and his incredible thoughts on suicide, social media, and mental health. You can follow Nik on Instagram at Nik Dodani.
Everyone wants to feel accepted and loved. Please open your hearts to those who are feeling lonely and help them feel accepted. Help them be found. If you're struggling to feel accepted, ask for help. Every time that you call out, you're a little less alone. You will be found. You are beautiful, unique, and special. And if you're having thoughts of suicide, please speak up and ask for help. Call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255.
Great podcast today. Thank you again to the incredibly talented Nik Dodani for joining us. Go and get your tickets to see Nik in the inspiring film adaptation of Dear Evan Hansen, opening Friday, September 24th. Special thanks to my co-host Skylar, and of course a huge thank you to everyone for listening to this episode of the Teens4Wellness podcast. Remember, you matter.